in many ways, there was so many different aspects of my experience here that like really resonated with me, that remind me of my experiences in other coasts I've been in. I've served in the Caribbean, and again, like in Mauritius, very multicultural blend of different influences and cultures, with a strong mix, obviously, sort of an Afro-Caribbean influence there as well. But here it's fascinating because of the strong Indo-Mauritian connections too. And having served in India and in Bangladesh and spent, 5 years of my life in South Asia, it was sort of fascinating to see that connection as well. So the African or Creole Mauritian as well as the Indo-Mauritian. And the blending of those cultures for me was really fascinating because I would get like sort of connections with some past experience and say, oh, this reminds me very much of, like when I think of Sega, I think very much of some of the calypso that I would hear in Barbados or in, and then some of the Creole languages or Creole phrasing reminds me a bit of my time in St. Lucia and Dominica. But then I, studied Bangla, and I have a chance to speak a little bit Bangla, although most of it's Hindi. And so I've had a chance to, talk to some of the community here in Bangla, which has been exciting for me because you don't always get to use Bangla. And so it's, for me, that's what's been really fascinating, is having the opportunity to sort of have these experiences that I've had in sort of my past lives, as you would say, and then having those experiences sort of overlaid here. So that to me was really interesting, and somewhat of a surprise was just how blended. And I know there's always, sort of in any society, there's always going to be certain tensions, some issues. But, as an outsider, I'd have to say, in all sort of candor, the fact that Mauritius makes it work is really impressive. I mean, you're on an island, it's not very large, in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And there's this level of understanding and collaboration that I would not take for granted, that I think is really impressive. Yes, there's been issues in the past, and there's, always going to be questions and concerns in any different community. And you see what's been happening in, say, New York. It's been fascinating to see New York as it works through the various communities and the election of Hamdani there is really sort of raise that question of, what is the dynamic, how communities interrelate, work with each other, and engage. And so here in Mauritius, I have to say, again, as an outsider, that environment where the communities work together, collaborate, and for all the challenges, make it work, I think is very impressive and should not be taken for granted. That's the other thing I think that people should appreciate, or that to me is really impressive, is when you look at the baseline of where Mauritius started, the expectation in, I think, 68 was things weren't going to go well, and that it was really struggling, low education levels, low health indicators, economically so dependent upon sugar. And you look where it is now, and that's an amazing testament to people of Mauritius. And it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, well, we could have done this, we could have done that, the shoulda, woulda, coulda, as we say in the U.S., but when you take a step back and you look at what's been accomplished, I think to me that's another surprise. Like, you wouldn't think that, again, a small island in the middle of the Indian Ocean would be so prosperous, would be like a leader within this region, and could be like doing so well in different fronts. There are challenges. I mean, there's, you can't sit on your laurels. I've been encouraging the government to really look at how, and I know from this new strategy that they've recently rolled out, that they're looking at this as well, the 2050, Vision 2050. What are the enablers that you need to go from here to there? Because there's a book that's like one of these self-help books. The old one in the 70s was I'm okay, you're okay. But there's the other one is what got you here won't get you there. It's one of these classic business books. And I think that's true in the sense that what Mauritius now needs to do is think about where it needs to go and think about what are those enablers. So in areas like, as I mentioned, biopharma, putting in place institutions like a local FDA, Food and Drug Administration, that can help in approving, say, vaccines and medicines and clinical research, creating a course of study, say, at Mauritius University in biomedical sciences, and really developing that, enhancing that. providing opportunities for people with certain skills and expertise to come here. I mean, these are all just examples in that one discrete area, but I think it's applicable in a lot of areas, whether it's the financial services, whether it's in other fields. The other area I think is very much a possibility is in the blue economy. We had an expert come out here who was an expert in aquaculture, and he said the thing that always strikes him when he comes to places like Mauritius, Seychelles, and other islands, so much of the economic focus is on the one resource you don't have, which is related to land and property. The one resource you do have is the water, and yet so little effort and emphasis focused on that. And thinking about the enablers and what he had talked about, this expert we brought in, is like, you know, the government should really help the entrepreneur, you know, from A to Z, such as look at doing the primary research to identify the species that would benefit from aquaculture, that you could really do in a sustainable way, whether it's seagrass, sea cucumber, certain fish stocks. Look at that. Look at where they could thrive. Identify that in advance. Facilitate the permitting. Facilitate the infrastructure, the warehouse, the pier space. You know, provide the, you know, financing, or look at how you can facilitate that financing. So all those different enablers, and I think that's where, you know, taking it to the next level is really important for Mauritius. So, Sandra, sorry I'm going on, but I would just say that those were the surprises I saw, just like how fascinating the culture, a blend, the success that the country was going through. But I think going to the next level is really what needs to be the focus. And again, I hope that the Vision 2050 comes to fruition. I think it's really important. I think it's a step in the right direction.